In the Black Out Loud.
Fast fashion's footprint. As consumer demand for sustainability grows, the fashion industry is under pressure to measure its environmental impact and provide increased transparency regarding labor and workplace practices in supply chains. How are brands tackling the challenge of integrating environment, social and governance, ESG initiatives while maintaining profitability? By Megan Breen. This article has been edited for audio purposes. Article begins. It may be intrinsically connected to style and innovation, but the fashion industry has a decidedly unfashionable environmental and social footprint. Every garment carries the weight of its production, and the consequences extend far beyond the latest trends. Currently responsible for up to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, the fashion sector is on a path to contribute 26% of the world's carbon emissions by 2050, according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's A New Textiles Economy, Redesigning Fashion's Future report. The industry also ranks among the top 3 water consumers alongside technology and agriculture. However, it's not just carbon and water that is a problem. About 500,000 tons of microfiber from clothing ends up in the ocean each year, equating to 3 million barrels of oil in pollution. Another challenge is bridging the gap between sustainability and profitability. However, recent studies suggest that integrating sustainable practices can enhance profitability in the long run. For instance, brands that prioritize sustainability often see an increase in customer loyalty, as more consumers are inclined to support companies that align with their values. People have been outraged for decades now, and we are at a point where the purchasing power of consumers is so powerful. There are more and more people who won't support companies that don't show their ESG efforts, says Rachel Riley, National Manager at Ethical Clothing Australia. Additionally, investing in sustainable technologies and practices can lead to cost savings through improved efficiency and reduced waste. There are significant moves being made in Australia to change the way both consumers and brands approach fast fashion. Some examples include Cotton On, which produces the Good Report each year, detailing its sustainability responses and outcomes, and Country Road, who have a clearly articulated strategy around sustainable sourcing and use of cotton. Collective approach needed. In Australia, where shoppers buy an average of 53 garments each per year, almost 200,000 tons of clothing ends up in landfill. Yet, efforts are underway on various fronts. Brands are increasingly adopting circular business models focused on reuse, repair, and recycling. Schemes where companies collect old clothes for fiber recycling or repurposing are also becoming more widespread, and consumers are embracing second-hand shopping or re-commerce and clothing rental services. Nevertheless, lasting change needs to be driven by a collective effort, says CEO of Seamless, Australia's clothing product stewardship scheme, Ainsley Simpson. Greater industry-wide collaboration, consumer awareness, and systemic change in production and consumption practices are all crucial to address the negative impact of something everyone takes part in, one way or another. Seamless is the world's first circular product stewardship scheme, and while we are making progress in addressing clothing waste, this is a global issue, and we are part of a global supply chain. It's important to recognize that no organization or nation has got this nailed. If it was easy, it would already be done, she says. Seamless aims to change the industry's approach to clothing production, use, reuse, and recycling. The goal is to achieve clothing circularity by 2030, with 60% of the industry on board, to divert 120,000 tonnes of end-of-life garments from landfill by 2027. After starting with just 8 founding members, it now includes more than 70 major clothing brands, including an increasing number of uniform and workwear brands. Our members are committed to taking genuine responsibility for their product's life, which means that sustainability is actually integrated into the way in which that organization operates across all of its financial protocols, governance, and decision-making procedures. Counting the cost. Senior finance leaders are recognizing that investing in ESG initiatives can lead to long-term profitability. Australian activewear business Lorna Jane joined the Seamless scheme early on. CFO Fiona Hoshmuth, FCPA, says, while initial costs may be high, the adoption of sustainable materials, ethical labour practices, and energy-efficient technologies can reduce risks and enhance brand loyalty. There is the need to balance profitability with sustainability. As competitive markets put pressure on pricing, she says, the key financial challenge lies in the upfront investment required for ESG initiatives, such as transitioning to sustainable materials, enhancing production processes, and conducting supplier audits. These initiatives often come with higher initial costs, but they are crucial for long-term success, she says. The installation of solar panels at the Lorna Jane head office in 2015 naturally required an initial investment, but has since significantly reduced energy costs over time by lowering reliance on non-renewable energy, says Hochmuth. It not only provides reductions in cost, it gives the brand a tangible way to show its commitment to sustainability, she says. We show stakeholders that sustainable practices build brand loyalty, as more consumers are prioritizing environmentally responsible brands. These practices also reduce long-term risks by ensuring compliance with regulations and creating more resilient operations, which ultimately support profitability, she says. Lorna Jane also requires suppliers to provide annual ethical audits, which allows the business to monitor risks related to labor practices, environmental impact, and governance across the supply chain. We use Fair Supply, an ESG risk management and compliance company, for carbon accounting and managing our non-trade procurement suppliers, helping us track and reduce our carbon footprint. In addition, we report under Australia's Modern Slavery Act 2018, which ensures we have a due diligence process in place to identify and address any potential risks of exploitation in our supply chains, she says. Financial professionals are in a unique position to help their clients identify elements of a supply chain that may indicate unsafe work practices and exploitation, adds Riley. Accountants and financial professionals can play a role in identifying potential exploitation by scrutinizing the feasibility of very low garment prices in their clients' financial data. For example, she says, one of the guiding tools that they have to try and understand whether a garment can effectively be made for a certain cost is the value volume. If it is a low price, then it's an indicator that there might be some exploitative labor conditions or invisible people in the supply chain.
In the Black Out Loud.